Save $2 on fresh boneless pork sirloin chops, just $2.99 per pound. Pretty Lady extra large red or white seedless grapes, $3.99 per pound. Only 99 cents for select varieties of 6-ounce YOPLAIT yogurt. A healthy snack, MOTT'S applesauce, $3.19 for a 6-pack of select varieties. Save more than half price on 4-roll package bathroom 2-ply toilet tissue, only 89 cents. Visit our website, www.marketplace.pm, for more super specials.
You can count on us.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Tuesday, September the 18th. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us tonight. The woman charged with causing the death of motorcyclist Carrie Hollis by driving while under the influence has taken the stand in her own defense. 31-year-old Kalisha Birch of Warwick denies 2 counts of causing Carrie Hollis's death. Mother of 2, Mrs. Hollis was struck while riding her motorcycle in the early hours of September 28th last year near 5-Star Island on Middle Road. As Jasmine Patterson reports, the jury heard Birch tested positive for THC in her urine on the day of the collision, but she denies any wrongdoing.
Kalisha Birch has taken the stand to give testimony in her own defense. She maintains her innocence, stating that the collision was an accident. She is charged in the Supreme Court with driving while under the influence of a dangerous drug and causing death by careless driving on September 28th last year, which she denies. Ms. Hollis was traveling east in the Jews Bay, Southampton area near 5-Star Island on her motorcycle when she was struck by Birch's car. Prosecutors suggested she was dishonest to police for not revealing that she was a when questioned following the collision. She rejected this, telling the jury she willingly gave a blood sample for analysis and said to officers she was not impaired. The defendant admitted to smoking cannabis up to once a week for a period of time before she found employment at the hospital. However, she says she quit to better herself and had not smoked at all around the time of the collision. The Crown suggested she failed to negotiate the bend because she was, quote, flying on that wet, rainy morning well above the speed limit, panicked when she saw Miss Hollis and ended up in the eastbound lane. Birch disagreed. She said, quote, "We collided. It was an accident." When put to her that she had a dangerous substance in her blood, Birch explained, saying THC stays in the fat cells for months. She claimed the test results found traces of THC from prior use up to 15 days before the collision. The jury recently heard from a collision expert who determined the car would have been traveling over 50 kilometers an hour to slide across the center line into a wall on the opposite side of the road with Miss Hollis in her path. The trial continues.
Questions continue to swirl around Belco amid a row over controversial redundancies. It has been widely reported that 3 staff from the Communications and Marketing Department of Ascendant, parent company of Belco, lost their jobs. Now, Bermuda Broadcasting has learned further job cuts might have been staved off by government intervention. Gary Moreno reports.
Well-placed sources have told us that 3 managers were reportedly summoned to meeting to be held at a city location, purportedly to tell them they were about to lose their jobs. However, a letter from the Ministry of Home Affairs warning of possible sanctions against Ascendant might well have brought them a reprieve. The letter stated government's intention to investigate goings-on at the company, but it's unclear exactly is not confirming any details. In an official statement issued today, a spokesman said, quote, "Like any public company, we do not comment on internal personnel matters," unquote. Bermuda Broadcasting understands that immigration has put the squeeze on Ascendant and 1 work permit has already been pulled. It was widely reported last week that Ascendant made 5 positions in its communications and marketing department redundant. 2 were already vacant. This apparently followed failed attempts to bring in a vice president for the department from overseas despite 2 appeals to immigration. Whether or not that failure is linked to the department's closure is unclear and a matter for debate. The individual said to have been seeking the VP role previously worked in Belco's marketing department on a work permit. She subsequently went overseas and up until recently was helping Ascendant make the transition to Cosmic, the firm which took over communications and marketing for Ascendant. Cosmic declined to comment. Were made to cut costs. We've been informed that in the 2 years Sean Durfee has been president and CEO of the Ascendant Group, several people have been made redundant or lost their jobs. When asked, Ascendant declined comment. The recent redundancies triggered a strong rebuke from the government and is said to have had a severely negative impact on staff morale. We have been told about other concerns about overseas training allegedly being curtailed and tens of thousands of dollars spent on 2 music concerts for staff. Ascendant, though, will not comment. Meanwhile, a social media campaign launched against the company urges Mr. Durfee be removed as president and CEO. Mr. Durfee, in a letter to staff last week, described the information contained in social media posts as innuendo, conspiracy theories, and outright lies. He stated that he had lived both his personal and professional life as, quote, an open book. Bermuda Broadcasting has sought on a number of occasions to interview Mr. Durfee, but so far without success. It is understood that his reticence is at least partly due to the fact that there is an active investigation by immigration. In a statement today, Ascendant moved to emphasize that it follows best practices. Quote, any matters that come before the Ascendant Board are taken very seriously and are subject to a very rigorous process which follows certain guidelines, policies and procedures to ensure that our obligations as a publicly traded company are fulfilled to the highest standard. The Ascendant Board is comprised of seasoned, experienced directors, including Bermudians who are fully vested in the long-term success of the company and country and are fully committed to their fiduciary and government responsibilities. The board follows best practice for publicly traded companies and will always make decisions that comply with our legal and regulatory obligations and that are in the best long-term interests of our staff, shareholders and our customers, the people of Bermuda. Unquote. Gary Moreno, reporting for the News.
Thanks, Gary. Well, in other news, the Corporation of Hamilton will not seek legal action in response to the vandalism posted by those aggrieved by the artistic fallout over the Gombe mural. Artist April Branco was commissioned to paint a mural on Church Street. However, it was erased due to a dispute over the design layout. The story drew much attention on social media, including a public retort in support of Ms. Branco's position. A corporation spokesperson said they will not pursue those involved. The sign will be left up for the next few days to, quote, allow frayed emotions to heal. A spokesperson confirmed it was Ms. Branco who terminated the contract. However, they claim they never approached her about repaying the contract. And we'll have more for you after this short break. Stay with us.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. With omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast, the chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
From sunup to sundown, a dedicated team of highly skilled workers using state-of-the-art technology quietly work to keep Bermuda moving. Bermuda's national and commercial institutions and its people rely on goods imported through Polaris from across the globe. Over 30,000 containers are unloaded each year, representing everyday goods, groceries, vehicles, and so much more. Polaris Holding Company is the powerhouse group behind Bermuda's docks with interests in heavy equipment and real estate. Polaris is quietly powering Bermuda.
Bassett, custom designs by you. So, how do you like it? Choose your arm style, then select your pieces. Special order exactly what you want. Your style, your way. Sofa, love seat, chair, sectional, you name it. Bassett, your style, your way at Furniture Walk.
Welcome back. Well, after doing more with less for the past 4 years, environmental charity Keep Bermuda Beautiful received some much-needed assistance today. Here's Terai Trott with more.
Good afternoon.
The fact that this year has been somewhat challenging in terms of waste management is no secret, and the assistance provided by environmental group KBB through its various cleanup and education initiatives has been invaluable in assisting with getting residents to generate less garbage, recycle, and reuse. But the charity's work, the minister explains, goes beyond keeping Bermuda beautiful as it has been for the past 50 years.
Their youth program is another one where they provide classroom and assembly presentations in our schools, educating on the dangers that trash and marine debris are having on our environment. The KBB After School Hour provides our young people with required service hours and allows them to work towards their Duke of Edinburgh while cultivating a generation that will keep our environment clean, healthy, and safe.
And the organization's significance, the minister points out, extends well beyond these shores.
Since 2016, the KBB has performed over 300 cleanups. They have reached more than 30,000 homes, and their number of volunteers doubled in 2017 to 750 people. This speaks volumes about their progress. The results of these cleanups are quite impressive, and our railway trails have been one benefactor of this effort. Along with other agencies and researchers, KBB collects data on the marine pollution problem, and this information is shared globally to assist other jurisdictions in the ongoing effort to save our environment.
Citing KBB's significant contribution to ensuring a safer and cleaner environment for residents and visitors alike, along with the role it plays internationally, Minister Birch asserts the reinstating of the grant is more than worthwhile.
I'm therefore pleased to reinstate the government's annual funding for the KBB in the amount of $60,000. We have committed to continuing this funding through 2020. I am certain that any future government will see the extreme value of supporting such a worthwhile cause and continue funding well beyond then.
Expressing her gratitude, Ann Hyde, the KBB executive director, said this gesture by government will go a long way in assisting the charity.
But we are extremely grateful to the minister and to his ministry for reinstating this grant. It's a significant amount for us. It represents half of our annual budget, our operating budget. So it's something that will go a very long way. And if we've been struggling along without it, we're now going to be able to zoom forward with more impetus to our initiatives.
Minister Birch explained that government is in which to partner with KBB over and beyond grant funding.
Thanks, Terai. Well, in other news, Michael Dunkley, the Shadow Minister of National Security, tonight speaking out on the proposed Redemption Farm initiative meant to assist young people avoid gangs and violence by getting involved in farming. Wayne Kane's Minister of National Security and Pastor Leroy Bean, Bermuda's Gang Violence Reduction Coordinator, recently outlined the plan, which Mr. Dunkley says he supports.
Getting to the Redemption Farm, I thought it was an interesting comment that the minister made when he did the interview a couple of weeks ago with Pastor Bean. And on the face of it, we in the opposition support it 100%, but it has to be done right. And unfortunately, the minister seems to have a penchant for speaking off the cuff and saying things that get him into trouble afterwards when he reflects on it. In this case, while the Redemption Farm is an interesting idea, because let's face it, when you're out in the community, when you're working the land, it's great therapy. It can teach you great skills. We need those skills in Bermuda, and we need to be able to teach our younger people how to be entrepreneurs. And so we support the idea of this approach. But what I find curious about it is, during the budget debate earlier this year, there was no discussion of it. So I have to assume that if the minister is serious about it, and I believe he is because he said it, then there has to be some budget allocation somewhere. So I would hope the minister would come out quite soon, because it's been a couple of weeks now, and say what the allocation is, say where it's coming from and how it's going to be used. I would hope the minister has consulted with the local industry. In my research on the subject, he hasn't consulted any farmers at this point. And why do I say that, Mike? Because if it's going to be successful and it's going to have the intended consequences we want, it would seem much better to work with the local industry, which the government say they fully support, rather than set up something separately, which will need a larger budget. You'll need the expertise and experience, which I don't know where that's coming from. You'll need to buy some equipment, and we know the equipment's not cheap. You'll need to make sure that it's sustainable, and you'll need to make sure that actually when you put something in the ground, it's going to grow out of the ground, because it's not that easy to do. Further question to the minister would be, why not use the local industry, or why not make sure that the prison farm could be used to a larger extent? There's plenty of land down there that can be used as well. And so I look forward to Minister putting some more meat on the bone.
Turning to weather news, some much needed rain today. What does the rest of our week have in store? Here are the answers from AccuWeather headquarters.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
Well, I hope life is good for you today on this somewhat rainy Tuesday evening in Bermuda. We do have some periods of rain that will linger into the overnight hours. This forecast, by the way, is brought to us by our friends at the BF&M Insurance Group, and we are concerned about some periods of rain tonight. It's not going to be anything terribly disruptive, but with this area of low pressure just kind of rotating and spinning to our south, it's going to continue to at least inject some showers into the neighborhood. And you can see the satellite-derived rainfall has been scattered, but at least when it is raining, some of the rain's coming down for an extended period of time, more than just a 5 or 10 minute shower. Temperatures are down partly because of this. 77 degrees is where we stand. It is pretty muggy, fairly humid out there, and the wind is blowing from the northeast at a fairly active clip, around 10 knots. Water temp down to 84 right now. On the inside, we have 1 foot waves or flatter. On the outside, there are 3 to 5 footers, and eventually the waves will become more agitated later this week. So in light of what's going on, the Bermuda Weather Service has issued advisory through this evening, so be aware of the potential for some lightning out there at times. And then looking ahead into Thursday. Thursday is when the waves will get most active, and there is a small craft warning already in place from Thursday morning through midday and in through the afternoon as well. So keep that in mind as you're making your plans, and if you're going to be out on the boat later this week, Thursday, a little rough. So tonight, some showers out there, periods of rain. The possibility is there for a thunderstorm or two. And when it comes to boating interests and the swimming crowd, we have high tide at 4:32. That was not too long ago. So the tide is going back out, and we have low tide at 11:01 tonight. High tide again early tomorrow morning, and a low tide in the late morning hours at 11:08 a.m. And again, looking ahead to Thursday, a small craft warning is in effect for most of the day. So tomorrow, periods of sunshine with clouds, more clouds than sun though. Just a few sunny intervals in between these showers and thunderstorms, and we'll be around 83, so temperatures staying down a bit compared to where they had been. Futurecast shows this swirl of low pressure. At least this is not a big tropical system, so at least we don't have to deal with much wind, no damage, just some rain out there. And this will be with us into the day on Wednesday. You can see these areas of green on the map suggesting the possibility of some lingering periods of rain and some showers. And then this front is going to eventually approach, and when this front gets closer, the winds will increase on Thursday. And that's when things become a little more agitated for our boating friends. The current conditions and the forecast looking ahead for the Caribbean, a little bit unsettled, scattered thunderstorms. It's that time of the year when we do see many showers and storms in many of the Caribbean islands to our south. The only tropical beast out there right now, as Florence is fading over New England, is a tropical depression in the eastern Atlantic, Tropical Depression Joyce, which is going to stay thousands of miles from us, and Joyce is on its last legs. The Gateway forecast, cooler and pretty pleasant for most of the east. Miami, scattered thunderstorms. London, a little wetter there, will be around 73. Our extended forecast, we remain unsettled through Wednesday with the upper level low pressure system nearby. The waves pick up, the wind picks up a bit on Thursday when a cold front swings in from the west. Thunderstorms possible both days. Then we turn much nicer, quieter, and much less breezy into the weekend. Back to you.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
It's hurricane season. Here are some tips from BF&M. Before a storm, make sure you have a family plan. Stock up on food and water and protect your home. Board up and make sure your insurance policies are up to date. After a storm, check everyone's safety, especially seniors. Inspect your property and secure from further damage. Then note the damages, list, and take photos. Remember, you can always count on BF&M 24/7 during hurricane season and all year around.
All my life is changing every day, in every possible way. Then I open up and see the person falling here is me. 'Cause you're a dream to me.
Made with care, handled with care, delivered with care. That's what dreams are made of.
The new Toyota Rush. With 7 seats, there's always plenty of room. Available at Bermuda Motors.
From the very beginning, it was always our singular focus to do whatever it takes, use every possible resource to fight cancer, and never lose sight of the patients we're fighting for. Our cancer treatment specialists share the same vision. Experts from all over the world working closely together to deliver truly personalized cancer care. And these are the specialists we're proud to call our own. Expert medicine works here. Learn more at cancercenter.com. Appointments available now.
The anti-racism group CURB says it will resume its public truth and reconciliation forums next month to try and tackle the problem of racism. Lynn Winfield, the president of the group, which is organizing the forum, says the hope is that these free events will allow people to talk about race and bring about reparations. Ms. Winfield spoke to Tarai Trott today.
The intent from the very beginning when we launched in January 2017 was to run them for several years, because you can't we only have a limited number of facilitators that donate their time to the whole exercise. They're free to the public, and so as a consequence, we can only do so many groups at any given time throughout the year. So we knew from the get-go that this would be a 3 to 5 year project, and it's looking more that it'd be likely to be 5 years. So what happens, it's a weekly commitment for people, and that's important because it creates relationships, which in turn allows people to foster trust and build community. And the important thing is that when that's in place, people start to begin to share stories and think more creatively about how positive societal change can be achieved and what reparations or what we need to do to repair the harm that's been done to the community.
How pervasive, you might ask? Well, Ms. Winfield believes it isn't as clear as you may think.
Racism comes in many formats, and you probably understand that. It is still there. It operates in very different ways. The majority of it is a systemic racism, which is embedded in our organizations in a way that sometimes we don't see. It operates from people making decisions around implicit bias, and sometimes explicit bias, but by and large, it's from a perspective of implicit bias, which means unconsciously people make decisions from that perspective.
Those Truth and Reconciliation community conversations will start on October the 3rd for 7 weeks. Located in Hamilton in the evenings, 3 facilitators trained in restorative practices will be on hand to take part. You should call 505-0112. We'll stay with us. We'll be right back.
Save $2 on imported red potatoes, $4.99 for a 5-pound bag. Fresh certified Angus beef, top sirloin steak, $8.99 per pound. Kraft American cheese singles, $3.99 for an 8-ounce package. Post Great Grain cereal, $6.59 for a 16-ounce. Select varieties. Cool treat, save $2.06 on Magnum ice cream bars, $5.29 for a 3-pack. All stores open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for your shopping convenience.
You can count on us.
It's a big world out there. An 8 billion person population can make 65,000 seem so small. But Bermuda punches well above its weight. It's a leading offshore financial services center, one of the largest insurance and reinsurance markets in the world, and a promising new hub of financial technology.
Currency Is that the best thing for the economy?
The breakdown tackles the high-level concepts.
Despite coming in, the bank left with a PE ratio,
but cuts through the technical jargon.
A fancy way of calculating how expensive a stock is.
So you can understand not just how Bermuda is impacted by the world, but how the world is impacted by Bermuda.
The Breakdown with me, Tony Waterman, Thursdays at 8 p.m. starting this October.
Turning to sports, BFA President Mark Wade reflects on Mozzie Birchall. Bermuda cyclists take Hamilton by storm, and Delray Rollins is having success at Sussex. Earl Baisden has the details and so much more in tonight's Sports Report.
Many would remember Mozzie Birchall scoring that CONCACAF stunner. However, Mark Wade, then coach of PHC, now the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Birchall made his appearance in the Dudley E final at the Wellington Oval and made a name for himself.
You know, Mozzie scored a fantastic goal on behalf of Bermuda in 2017 on the 20 CONCACAF Championships. Lit Bermuda up. Right. So certainly condolences to his family. You know, it's a talent that we're gonna have to do evolve. You know, it was 2 years prior to that as a coach of PHC at the time, you gave him an opportunity in a Dudley final. And he paid you back by coming on. And 4 minutes later, he was on the score sheet that turned out to be the winner. I actually forgot, to be honest, until somebody said to me one Saturday when we were, reminiscing, like, hey, didn't he get his start, under you? And I said, you know what? Yes, he did. You know, so it's been a tough few. But yeah, he did. He repaid me. He got his debut early on in the season, and then in the final, came off the bench. Settled on the nerves, because to be honest, Robert Hood had us under it for a bit.
The Bermuda Bicycle Association's National Criterium Championships took place in the city of Hamilton. Darren Glassford claimed the male championship title after a breakaway with Steve Smith, who crashed with just a handful of laps to go following a front tire flat. Glassford would ride to victory solo, clocking a time of 57:15.5. Adam Kirk was second in 57:51.4, and Mark Hatherley finished third in 57:53.8. In the female open race, Ashley Cooper finished ahead of the group, following some good tactics with Coralie Starzumski. Jamie Lee Wright was able to distance herself from Starzumski, but could not close the gap on Cooper. Cooper was clocked at 40:24.2, while Wright 0.3, and Starzumski was clocked across the line in 40:56.1. Sussex big-hitting Bermudian Delray Rollins has left an impression in a short time. His record in this year's Vitality T20 Blast might not look spectacular in its own right, 164 runs at 27.33 and a strike rate of 147.74, but it will be foolish to view Rollins' career to date through the lens of numbers alone. After all, this man, who made his international debut as a diminutive 15-year-old, a man who is picked to represent the South after just one A-list game, and a man whose innings in the Sussex quarterfinal against Durham caught the eye of so many fans that he had turned off his Twitter notifications. It has not taken long for him to garner the reputation of being a big game player. Robin Horsfield, Bermuda's national mountain bike champion, enjoyed an early off-season ride by participating in the Centurion Canada True Grit Gravel Road Race in Ontario. Horsfield initiated a break up a 3-kilometer climb minutes into the event. He was joined by PJ Kings and Lucas Sink, and the three rode away from the main field. Horsfield narrowly missed out on the top of the podium when he finished second in a time of 1:57.44. The Bermuda Professional Golf Association held their weekly medal at the Mid-Ocean Golf Course yesterday. Ocean View professional Brian Morris took full advantage of the absence of Daniel Augustus due to the flu this week to win the medal round, shooting a 5-over-par 76. Second place went to Turtle Hill professional Paul Adams, playing in his first medal. Adams shot a 6-over-par 77. Mid-Ocean professional Chaka De Silva and Tuckers Point professional Dwayne Pearman Jr. both finished at 80. Next week, Bermuda will host competitors from Austria, Canada, Czech Republic, Greece, Italy, and the U.S. as the ISBF World Masters Hockey Championship will take place at the PCC Hockey Rink. The Bermuda Bowl Hockey Association are the host and will see the event run from September 26th through to the 30th. The Bermuda Commercial Summer League Softball Playoffs saw the B Division title wrapped up in a thriller at the Michael Priest Softball Diamond. The Ragamuffins edged the Buffaloes 18-17 to become the B Division champions, winning the series 3-1. The Hard Knocks were crowned the women's champions after PHC forfeited their game. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
Thanks, Earl. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. I'm Diane Brewer. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
On the CBS Evening News this Tuesday, the president says Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh and his accuser should tell their stories. But will Christine Blasey Ford appear before the Senate? We'll have the latest. And in Eye in America, the FDA fast-tracks a